The ground trembles beneath the weight of the Soviet tanks. A thunderous roar fills the air, echoing through the streets as engines roar and artillery fires. Thousands of goose-stepping soldiers march in perfect unison, their synchronized steps creating a rhythmic, almost hypnotic sound. Their faces stoic, their rifles held at a precise angle, reflecting the discipline and rigor of their training. Tanks, massive and seemingly unstoppable, rumble across the cobblestones, their sheer size and power a testament to Soviet engineering. Their cannons pointed towards the sky, a silent but powerful message of readiness and strength. Overhead, fighter jets scream past, leaving trails of colored smoke in their wake, painting the sky in vibrant hues. This is the Red Army, the military machine of the Soviet Union, a force meticulously crafted and maintained, a force that for decades held the world in awe and fear, its presence a constant reminder of Soviet power. These displays of military might were not mere spectacle. They were a carefully choreographed message to the world. A message that the Soviet Union was a superpower to be reckoned with, its military prowess unmatched. The sheer scale of the Soviet military was staggering, a force of millions ready to defend the motherland. The sight of countless soldiers, tanks and aircraft moving in perfect harmony was both awe-inspiring and intimidating. Millions of soldiers stood ready to defend the motherland, their resolve unwavering, their training rigorous, equipped with an arsenal of nuclear weapons, tanks and aircraft that dwarfed that of most other nations. The Soviet military was a formidable force. The Soviet Union's military might was the product of decades of relentless build-up, a testament to the nation's industrial and technological capabilities. This military machine was the product of decades of relentless build-up, fueled by the paranoia and ambition of the Soviet leadership. Fueled by the paranoia and ambition of the Soviet leadership, the military was constantly expanded and improved. From the ashes of World War II, the Soviet Union emerged as a global power, its military prestige cemented by the defeat of Nazi Germany. The victory over Nazi Germany was a defining moment, showcasing the strength and resilience of the Soviet military. Under the iron fist of Joseph Stalin, the Soviet military-industrial complex churned out weapons at a staggering rate, transforming the nation into a fortress. Factories worked around the clock, producing tanks, aircraft and weapons, ensuring the Soviet military was always ready for any threat. Stalin's successors, while perhaps less ruthless, continued to prioritize military strength, believing it to be the ultimate guarantor of Soviet security and influence on the world stage. The belief that military strength was the key to security and influence drove the Soviet Union to maintain and expand its military capabilities. The Cold War was in full swing, and the Soviet Union and the United States were locked in an ideological and geopolitical struggle that threatened to consume the entire world. This struggle, marked by a constant state of tension and the ever-present threat of nuclear war, defined the era. The Soviet military was the tip of the spear in this conflict, a constant reminder of the very real possibility of a nuclear apocalypse. Parades showcasing nuclear missiles were a stark reminder of the destructive power at the Soviet Union's disposal. This period, from the end of World War II to the early 1980s, marked the zenith of Soviet military power. A time when the Red Army seemed invincible, its presence a dominant force on the global stage. The Red Army, with its vast numbers and advanced weaponry, was seen as an unstoppable force, capable of sweeping across Europe. A force capable of sweeping across Europe and challenging the United States for global dominance, the Soviet military was a symbol of the nation's strength and ambition. Training exercises were conducted regularly, ensuring that the soldiers were always prepared for any eventuality. The development of new technologies and weapons was a constant priority, with scientists and engineers working tirelessly to keep the Soviet military at the cutting edge. Military strategy and planning were given the highest importance, with generals and strategists constantly refining their tactics. Alliances were formed with other nations, further bolstering the Soviet Union's military strength and influence. Military aid was provided to allies, spreading Soviet influence and ensuring a network of supportive nations. The Soviet military was involved in numerous international conflicts, showcasing its reach and capability. In addition to its combat roles, the Soviet military also engaged in humanitarian efforts, providing aid and support to civilians in need. The legacy of the Soviet military is remembered through monuments and memorials honoring the sacrifices and achievements of its soldiers. The influence of the Soviet military continues to be felt in modern Russia, with its traditions and practices still evident in today's military parades and ceremonies. The innovations and advancements made by the Soviet military have left a lasting impact on military technology and strategy worldwide. The Soviet military has also been immortalized in popular culture, with countless films, books, and documentaries exploring its history and impact. Interviews with former soldiers provide a personal perspective on the experiences and challenges faced by those who served in the Soviet military. Historical documents and footage from Soviet military archives offer a detailed look at the inner workings and operations of this formidable force. The honors and awards given to Soviet soldiers reflect their bravery and dedication, with medals and decorations serving as symbols of their service. Training programs were rigorous and demanding, designed to produce soldiers who were not only skilled but also resilient and disciplined. The leadership of the Soviet military, from generals to strategists, played a crucial role in shaping its direction and success. The Soviet military also played a role in the space race, with cosmonauts often having military backgrounds and contributing to the nation's achievements in space exploration. The influence of the Soviet military extended beyond the battlefield, shaping global politics and international relations during the Cold War and beyond. Understanding the history of the Soviet military provides valuable insights into the broader history of the Soviet Union and its impact on the world. The legacy of the Soviet military continues to be a subject of reflection and study, offering lessons and perspectives on the nature of power, conflict, and resilience. The Soviet Union emerged from the Second World War battered but victorious. The victory was hard-won, and the cost was staggering. The cost of victory had been immense, with entire cities reduced to rubble and the infrastructure of the nation in tatters. Millions of Soviet citizens had perished, leaving behind a nation in mourning and a population grappling with the loss of loved ones. Much of the country lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the brutal conflict that had ravaged the land. Yet, from this devastation, a determination arose, a collective resolve to rebuild and to ensure that such destruction would never befall the Soviet Union again. There was a fervent belief that the Soviet Union had earned its place as a global power, a belief that was deeply ingrained in the national consciousness. The Soviet Union saw itself as a bulwark against capitalist aggression, a defender of the working class against the perceived threats from the West. This belief, coupled with the paranoia and ambition of Joseph Stalin, drove the nation forward. Stalin's vision for the Soviet Union was one of unchallenged power and influence. Fueled by this vision, the rapid expansion of the Soviet military became a top priority. The Red Army, which had borne the brunt of the fighting during the war, was to be rebuilt and strengthened. Stalin, deeply suspicious of the West, saw a powerful military as the only guarantee of Soviet security. His distrust of Western intentions was a driving force behind his policies. He believed that only through military might could the Soviet Union protect itself from external threats and assert its dominance on the global stage. To achieve this, Stalin embarked on a crash program of rearmament, directing vast resources towards the rebuilding and expansion of the Soviet military. Factories that had been damaged or destroyed during the war were quickly repurposed to produce military equipment. The focus was on creating a formidable arsenal that could rival any in the world. These factories, still bearing the scars of war, were transformed into hubs of military production. Workers toiled tirelessly to meet the demands of the state. Tanks, artillery pieces, and other weapons of war were produced at a breakneck pace, with the goal of creating a military force that could not be easily challenged. The production of fighter jets and other aircraft was also ramped up, ensuring that the Soviet Union had a powerful air force to complement its ground forces. The Soviet people, many of whom had lost everything in the conflict, were once again mobilized. Their labor and sacrifices were directed towards strengthening the military might of the state. Working in often harsh conditions, these citizens played a crucial role in the rearmament effort. Their dedication and resilience were key to the Soviet Union's recovery and military buildup. This massive military buildup was not merely a reaction to the perceived threat from the West. It was also a reflection of Stalin's own ambitions for the Soviet Union. Stalin envisioned a world in which Soviet power was paramount, where the influence of the USSR extended far beyond its borders. The Soviet dictator saw the expansion of Soviet influence in Eastern Europe and beyond as a key component of his vision. He sought to create a buffer zone of allied states that would protect the Soviet Union from any potential threats. Stalin's ambitions were not limited to military power. He also sought to spread communism as a global ideology, challenging the capitalist West and promoting the Soviet model of governance. The Soviet Union's propaganda machine worked tirelessly to depict the West as the enemy, portraying capitalism as a threat to peace and stability. The Red Army in Stalin's eyes was the instrument through which this vision would be realized. It was to be the spearhead of Soviet power and influence. By the time of Stalin's death in 1953, the Soviet Union possessed the largest standing army in the world. This was a testament to the relentless drive for military supremacy that had characterized his rule. The Soviet military was equipped with thousands of tanks, aircraft, and artillery pieces, making it a formidable force on the global stage. The Air Force, with its fleet of fighter jets and bombers, was a key component of this military might. The Soviet Union was prepared to defend its interest by any means necessary. This military juggernaut, forged in the fires of war and fueled by ideological fervor, cast a long shadow over the world. The Soviet Union's military power was a central element of its identity and its strategy for global influence. The sight of Soviet soldiers marching in parades, their ranks filled with disciplined and well-equipped troops, was a powerful symbol of the nation's strength and resolve. As the Cold War began to take shape, the Soviet Union's military capabilities became a key factor in the global standoff. The ideological battle between East and West was underpinned by the very real threat of military conflict. The tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States, each armed to the teeth and vying for supremacy, defined the era. The world watched as these two superpowers engaged in a high-stakes game of brinkmanship. The stage was set for the Cold War, a period of intense rivalry and competition that would shape international relations for decades to come. The military build-up on both sides was a constant reminder of the potential for conflict. Diplomatic efforts to ease tensions were often overshadowed by displays of military power. Summits and negotiations were punctuated by parades and exercises that showcased the might of each superpower. The rivalry between the Soviet Union and the United States was not just a battle of ideologies, it was a contest of military strength and technological prowess. Each side sought to outdo the other, pushing the world to the brink of nuclear war.